Here as we have the opportunity outside of our typical hours of Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time to bring you this special with Mike Aresco, the Commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, who is no stranger to the broadcast, on the heels of the news that actually came toward the tail end of our morning show today with the fact that the American Athletic Conference has reached an agreement with the University of Central Florida, University of Cincinnati, and University of Houston to leave effective July 1st, 2023. Now, the conference bylaws, as I spoke with Commissioner Mike Aresco in the past, they could have been there until 2024, but they have reached an agreement to move forward on July 1st of 2023. And with that being said, on the heels of the news here on the day it happened, on Friday, June 10th of 2022, I'm happy to have Mike back on the show. Mike, how you doing?
How you doing, Dan? Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks. Glad, alluding to what you just mentioned, glad it's all done, but great to be with you as usual, and, nice weekend coming up, although it's 100 degrees here in Dallas, so I won't be going out a lot.
We spoke about, through these conversations, because, you're on this show here with me throughout the year, and we get to spend a lot of time together. We were talking about, throughout these months, what could happen. And with UCF and Cincinnati and Houston following Oklahoma and Texas bolting the Big 12 for the SEC, that the Big 12 decided to reach out to three schools within the American Athletic Conference. When this all came about and going through this process, up until a couple weeks ago, really the last time actually going into the annual meetings, you said, we're still trying to figure it out. We're trying to sit down with the three schools and see if there's something that makes sense. So when did this really come to fruition that the conference and the institutions felt good about this? Because within you and I talking a week or so ago, you were still trying to figure out if this could happen.
Yeah, right after our annual meeting, the three presidents happened to be in Dallas at the Big 12 meetings, and so they came over and we met with them, and that's when I think we finally got the breakthrough. It had been building, though, because, minds get concentrated, Dan, when there's a deadline and when you feel that you just need to know. I think they felt pressure because, they'd like to, and now they can do that, tell the Big 12 that they're coming in. A lot of scheduling and other things have to be taken care of, all sorts of issues. So rebranding, you want to get a head start on that. And, we felt that meeting, some deadlines that our Conference USA 6 incoming schools had would obviously be, helpful. And I think the 3 exiting schools were sensitive to that. So we knew it would sort of come together around now, at least we thought it would. You never know. I mean, if we had been completely at loggerheads, then maybe we wouldn't have gotten an agreement at all. But we were prepared to sit back and say, look, you have to stay till July 124, but we worked it out and it was very amicable. These are great schools and great people. I've had a tremendous relationship with Renew Couture from the whole length of this contract, the conference existence from the time of the original ESPN contract right through when the league was formed. And Renew is just terrific. And Houston did a great job investing and making this conference, helped make this conference what it was. Neville Pinto, I've known for a while now. He came kind of in the middle, and he's terrific. And Alex Cartwright has not been there too long at UCF, relatively speaking, but I got to know and like Alex. And it was just a question of, we negotiated with the ADs and eventually the presidents. And, everybody, you have differences of opinion as to how you should exit. And these exit, when you want to exit early, it's always a little bit of a negotiation. Sometimes it goes easier, sometimes it doesn't. Remember, this time around, Dan, we're dealing with 3 schools, so it makes it a little more difficult. Although we were negotiating with them essentially together, which helped. And the agreement basically is the same for each of the 3. So I'm happy with it. I think they're happy with it. It ended on a very amicable basis, and we look forward to having them in the conference this year. I think they'll contribute a lot because they're all 3 really good schools, and they're going to be good in football and basketball. And we'll then have another year for our new schools to, get ready to come into our conference. So all in all, I think it's a win-win.
So is it safe to say on July 1, 2023, when we see the exiting of UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati officially, that the 6 schools that were named to come into the American Athletic as full-time members, UAB, FAU, UNC Charlotte, North Texas, Rice, and UTSA, will they be coming in at the same time?
That's the expectation and the hope, but it is contingent and it is subject to them working things out with Conference USA to make sure that everything is done properly, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They've had great cooperation from Judy McLeod. Judy and I are old friends, and she's been great. I think that it will happen. Yeah, I do think they'll work that out, and if they do, then absolutely we will take them on July 1, 23, and we'll be a 14-team conference, and we'll be on our way. We're going to have to do some work to, rebuild the brand a bit, but we'll do it, and we'll do it quickly.
And speaking here with the American Athletic Conference Commissioner Mike Aresco on the heels of reaching an agreement with Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF on their departure early on July 1st, 2023. Mike, as we talk about, obviously you think that it'll be done, that these 6 schools will come in from Conference USA. You just had them at your first ever annual meeting that they could be a part of. What was it like to see these institutions at the annual meeting for the American Athletic and have them involved in what the plans are for the present and the future?
It was terrific. It really was. We first of all, they're really great people, great presidents and ADs. We really enjoyed having them. They were, I think their SWAs were with us too. Their faculty athletic reps. They are just really good schools, very solid. They've done a great job, and they really enjoyed the meeting. I mean, they came up to me afterwards and said it was, a really great meeting, and our people felt it was one of the best meetings we ever had. We talked a lot about the big issues facing college sports, but just having them in the room, there was a lot of camaraderie. I think they felt very welcome, and it's going to be a big room. We need a much bigger room now. It's look like the Politburo or the Great Hall of China. But it's all good, and it was great having them.
What were the biggest takeaways from the annual meeting? And I know we'll talk about this further when we have some more time, but what were the points of emphasis, and what do you feel like you took away?
Well, first of all, in terms of just conference business, we talked a lot about football and basketball scheduling and how we're going to do it with a 14-team conference. And while we're not finished with that, we made a lot of progress. In addition, we looked at our committees and thought about how we're going to structure those, how we're going to deal with the revenue as we go forward. We thought a lot about the kind of things that affect, your conference. In terms of the things that affect not only the conference, but college athletics generally, we did have a good sort of a plenary session. We had everybody in the room, presidents, ADs, senior women administrators, faculty reps, and we talked a lot about that. And I essentially laid out what I thought were maybe 7 or 8 items that I thought we're going to really have to address, and that I hoping we can be leaders. And one is, okay, what do we do about NIL? Is there a way to deal with it? Is there a way to cap it, for example, or is that just a pipe dream? How do you deal with the collectives? Do we try to ban collectives, or do we say, look, we got to live with them and figure it out? What do we do with FBS football? Does it separate from the NCAA? Should it be separate? Should it have its own governance structure? That was another question. Then what do we do with pay for play? How do we feel about that? Pay to play. Is it here to stay? Is it not? If it is, do we want to try to figure out some way to collectively organize student athletes nationally without having them unionized or be employees? And can we get Congress on board in that effort? And okay, what should Congress be looking at? What should we ask Congress to do? Those are the kinds of questions. And there were several others. Enforcement. Who's going to handle enforcement within the NCAA? What should the NCAA look like? What should Division I look like? How do the automatic qualifiers stack up these days? All those issues, I think, are ones that, I said, look, we got to face them head on, and everybody agreed. And we as a conference that's been in the thick of it, and we have the same issues that P5 have, we can be leaders here, and let's formulate some positions over the next several months. As you know, I chair the CCA, the College Commissioners Association, and we're going to be talking about that at our summer meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. You can't just talk around these issues now. We have to decide, okay, what do you want to do? Do you really want to try to, get a, oh, by the way, transfer portal is another area. Do we want to have windows that make it a more organized transfer portal? Do we want to try to, reinstate the year in residency? When that went away, it changed the world. Let's face it. Can that even be possible? Is it something we want to do? Do you want to limit NIL payments somehow, or is that an antitrust issue? Again, all those issues now are going to be in front of us. I quoted Hemingway. Somebody once asked him, how does one go bankrupt? And his famous line was, well, gradually and then suddenly, and gradually we've gotten ourselves into this fix over the years in college sports. And I observed it and was involved in it on the network level and at the cable level for many, many years. And then I got involved as a commissioner. And we kept kicking the can down the road, or we simply didn't do some of the things maybe we could have done because we were worried, or we thought maybe we could, keep the world the same forever. And so now, all of a sudden, suddenly, we're faced with all these issues, that gradually we're building up. And I thought Coach K had some very perceptive comments recently, I don't know if you happen to see them, but he basically said, look, nobody uses VHS tapes anymore. Nobody drives an Edsel anymore. Does anybody have a Kodak camera anymore? The world changes. You have to adapt. We're in a new world. We can't go back to a system that frankly doesn't work anymore. But I don't want to see a system that corrupts our youth, that causes all sorts of problems, that is anti-competitive in terms of trying to get some competition on the field and court. That doesn't support student athletes, that really kind of untethers them from the educational mission. I don't really like that. I don't think that's what college sports has been, and should be. So now we're going to have to decide, and yet you can't go back to the old system. There's a Nobel Prize winner years ago in one of his novels. He has a character say, look, fellas, if you want things to stay the same around here, you're going to have to make some changes, and that's a great line, because again, if we want college sports to be similar to what it's been, and there's a real danger that it won't be, Dan, we've got to make some changes, and we'll see if we can over the next, see how nimble we are over the next couple of years, because it's upon us. I mean, what we do in the next several months and years is going to affect the next decade or two. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
That coming from the American Athletic Conference Commissioner, Mike Aresco. Mike, before I let you go, we look at, before these six come in, of the teams and the institutions that you have remaining here that are the American Athletic Conference: East Carolina, Memphis, Navy for football only, SMU, Temple, South Florida, Tulane, and Tulsa, and then Wichita State for everything but football. When I name those schools off to you and you hear them, what does it make you think of when I say East Carolina, Memphis, Navy, South Florida, SMU, Temple, Tulane, Tulsa, and Wichita State?
I think that's a really good nucleus from our previous iteration as a conference. I think if you look back over the years, without again getting into the details, Memphis was one of our prime football programs for how many years? From the time of Justin Fuente and Mike Norvell. They were right in the thick of it. There were all those great games against UCF, and they went to the Cotton Bowl. And then you look at Temple and what great years they had under Matt Rule, Jeff Collins, and then things kind of went sideways a little bit. But then you look at East Carolina, which when they first came into the league, Shane Carden and that great cast with Lincoln Riley as the offensive coordinator, Ruffin McNeil as the coach, they had one of the better teams in our conference. And you look at SMU and what they've done the last 4 years. They've revitalized the program. Tulsa went to our championship game, a year, not this past year, but a year ago. And then you look at Tulane, 3 straight bowl games until this year. They had a rough year. I don't know what happened because they almost beat Oklahoma, but then unfortunately just couldn't win. But USF had great years. That USF-UCF game in 2017 still remains one of the greatest college football games ever played. That was the one with Mackenzie Milton and, the great team that UCF had, and Quentin Flowers, and the great team that USF had. So they had some great moments also. Navy had tremendous moments in this conference. They've been ranked about 28 times, and they had 2-11-2 seasons. They almost won the division the very first year they entered the conference. They did win it subsequently and lost the championship game, but got in the championship game. They've won key bowl games over the years, as our other teams have as well. I think when I hear those names, I think this is a good nucleus. You got Wichita, which I think will be fine in basketball once they get things straightened out. There's just too much, there's too much there at Wichita, Dan. Their fan base, their donor base, the tremendous interest in Wichita basketball. Yeah, they got a tough break with Greg Marshall and everything, but went sideways again there. But I think Isaac Brown can revitalize that program. He did the first year. Last year they struggled. So anyway, I just think that I'm confident that these schools are going to do a great job along with the newcomers. And what I think we'll have a pretty seamless transition. I think everybody. A lot of the ADs knew each other. Some of the presidents knew each other in our conference, and I think everybody understands now that it's a partnership that's going to become a cohesive conference very quickly. We really have to. The last thing I'll say, Dan, is we know we have to ramp it up. We know we've got competition. We've got P5 competition. We've got competition from Mountain West, Sunbelt, others. We've got to make sure that we utilize the advantages we have, and they are advantages. We have ESPN. You can't do better than ESPN, and the exposure and the revenue. We have more revenue than the others. We've got to use that. We've got to invest. We also have the portal, which we've done very well with, and we're in the right states. When you're in Texas and Alabama and Pennsylvania and Florida, you're in the right places. Oklahoma, and so consequently, Louisiana. We have certain advantages now. We have great coaches in place. We pay our coaches more. We do a lot of things that the others don't do. And for us to stay where we've been and to enhance that, because we were on the cusp, as we were going to make a real push to become an official autonomy conference and then ultimately be called a P6. We should be anyway. We should have been for years, but sometimes you just can't wean the writers off this whole P5 business. But the point is, it's not going to be easy right now. We're going to have maybe a little tougher road. You're losing 3 important schools. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But on the other hand, I do think there's potential here. We've shown we can utilize that potential. Our DNA hasn't changed, and now we'll see what happens, Dan. Good to have this done, though, today, because it gives us a chance now to focus on the future and not worry about, getting those schools in a position to be able to leave.
And a final note coming off of that, is it bittersweet knowing everything that Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati have brought to you, but now having the sweetness of knowing the 6 that are coming in and having an end to it, that you don't want a relationship to end, but now you know when it is and you know that it's happening and you can move forward now. So is there a bittersweetness to it? And then can you share with us, obviously, there's a monetary thing that goes to the conference and there's a benefit when a school leaves. The bittersweetness to it is that, the conference does get to add money and utilize that money that they didn't have before to do different things with it. So is it bittersweet? And what can you tell us about the specifics that allowed for the departure?
Yeah, you've probably seen reports of what the money is, and we don't ever talk about the money or confirm it, but you've seen what it is. And it gives us a heck of a war chest on top of the reserves we already have. And with entry fees and other kinds of things, we're gonna have enough money to distribute something annually to our membership. So that's really good. And bittersweet, yes. Oh, without question, Dan. Absolutely. First of all, these are 3 schools that really, were really instrumental in what we did, and others were too. As you know, I just mentioned all the different things other schools did. Remember, UCF had that incredible winning streak, but prior to that, they were 0-12 one year and 6-6 the following year. But they did an unbelievable job. Houston got relevant again last year, but frankly, for 3 or 4 years, Houston was not one of our top teams. Cincinnati under Tommy Tuberville. Tommy's a great guy and a great coach. They had a few years when they were pretty decent, but struggled most of the time. And then under Luke initially, didn't do well, but immediately became a real force. So you can see where schools come and go in terms of their relevance. Although these schools now, I think, put themselves in a position to be consistently top schools, and so definitely I'll miss them. But more than the competition, the fact that they helped build our brand and helped make us nationally relevant and brought us to to heights people didn't think we would reach, you're going to miss the relationships. I mean, I like the presidents of these schools. I like the ADs of these schools. I love Luke Fickle, love Kelvin Sampson, go back a long way with both of them. We're going to miss that. And I'm going to miss, the fans. I'm going to miss, going to those places because it was fun all those years. And then I'll miss the writers too in those communities. Now, I'll keep in touch with some of them, but we got to know a lot of the writers who Joe Duarte and Matt Murchell and UCF Joe and Houston and others. And you'll miss some of that, no question about it. On the other hand, though, I'm excited about these 6 new schools because I think they bring a lot of enthusiasm. You can see how excited they are to be in the conference. They're going to invest. They're in interesting places, interesting markets. I think our basketball tournament in Fort Worth is going to be dynamite with those 4 schools from Texas, plus Wichita and Tulsa right up the road, and Memphis, not far away, Tulane also. And Tulane, watch Tulane this year in basketball with Ron Hunter. They're going to be a tremendous team. So you look forward to the new fellows as well, and a great group of people, great group of ADs and presidents. We had a dinner with our presidents. Not all of them could make it because of the storms in Dallas, but got to meet some of the new ones and very impressed. So, like anything else, Dan, there are always transitions. You wave goodbye and then, you say hello. So definitely bittersweet because, again, these are schools that were good, part of our part of what we were for all that time. On the other hand, I wish them well. I really do. I think they'll do well in the Big 12. I understand why they're doing it. The schools coming in, I think, are going to be great, and we look forward to that. I do, the caveat is once they get their situation worked out with CUSA, there's no way we would do anything until Judy, lets us, and those schools let us know that everything's been, all the T's have been crossed and the I's dotted. And then once that happens, we'll make sure that they come in and everything gets put on track.
Coming from the Commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, Mike Aresco, in this very special edition of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, in the day that we have the announcement on July 1st, 2023, UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati will be moving forward in the hopes that the 6 schools coming in will have the opportunity to come in at the same time seamlessly here for UAB, FAU, UNC Charlotte, North Texas, Rice, and UTSA. Mike, as always, I appreciate the time, and I look forward to everything that is to come. As always, the American never ceases to amaze, and I look forward to what's going to be next on the docket here, and I appreciate everything that you and your staff have done to truly make the American Athletic Conference a very special home to many student athletes, coaches, and administrative people, as well as the student body as a whole. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Dan. Appreciate the kind words. We're doing the best we can in that respect. And it's all about the student athletes. We can't forget that. I think it's easy to forget that when we get involved in some of this stuff, the politics and all the different things you deal with. But it's all about our student athletes. And, thanks again, Dan, for having me. I always appreciate being on your show and all, your knowledge and also your knowledge about our league and their support for our league over the years. And I think we try to be nationally relevant, and I think writers and commentators like you have certainly paid attention to us, and you especially, and I really appreciate it.
That coming once again from Mike Aresco, the Commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, as we bring you this bonus wake-up call with Dan Tortora broadcast, letting you know the words from the Commissioner on the day that it has been announced that the American Athletic Conference has decided to allow amicably within these negotiations to have the University of Houston, the University of Cincinnati, and the University of Central Florida to all leave a year earlier than they would have had to if they abided by what was already written in, which would have been July 1st, 2024. They are allowing them to leave on July 1st, 2023. And you heard from Mike Aresco that his anticipation, and they still have to work it out with Conference USA, but he said that his anticipation is that the 6 schools that are coming in, UAB, UNC Charlotte, FAU, as well as UTSA, Rice, and North Texas, will be coming in on July 1st of 2023. So the hope is, as the 3 go out, the 6 come in. And ironically, despite the fact that 3 quality institutions are leaving the American is doubling what they have going out coming in, and they have the opportunity to reach out to more markets, more places, more states, and they'll have their largest membership ever with 14 full-time football schools, and they will have overall, with the schools that they have put together, they will have a fantastic supply of schools as far as looking at those that are going to be making up the full-time members, as well as overall what it looks like. So the full-time members, with the 6 coming in: East Carolina, Memphis, South Florida, SMU, Temple, Tulane, Tulsa, and then they'll have Rice, UTSA, UNC Charlotte, North Texas, UAB, and FAU. Wichita State is there for all sports except for football, and Navy is there for football only. So that's what it will shake out to here in the American Athletic Conference. So big appreciation and very excited for what's to come for the American Athletic Conference. And I know the Big 12 is excited, and they should be, because they're getting 3 incredible schools that were hard to compete against. And now it's, if you can't beat them, I guess it's, if you can't beat them, put them in your conference. So this is where we're at right now, and that's what the things look like here. And Mike did not say the exact number, but the number floating around is that each of the 3 schools leaving the American Athletic Conference, the University of South Florida, University of Cincinnati, and the University of Houston, are allegedly paying $18 million apiece to buy out. So for those of you that are doing the home math, that's $18 million times 3. Carry it with me. That's $54 million that'll be going into the American Athletic Conference, including all of the schools that will be joining the conference itself of those 6. So something to be said about all that coming into the American Athletic Conference. And the hopes for the American are bright. And the Big 12, well, your hopes should be bright too, because you're getting 3 schools that I've covered for a very long time that did not get the national respect that they deserve. The American helped them to get that respect, and they helped the American to get that respect. And now I implore you to go and really pay attention to this final academic and athletic campaign, where UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati will all be competing one more time in the American Athletic Conference, starting in the fall for the 2022-2023 seasons all the way through, and then they will move on to the Big 12 on July 1st of 2023. And Mike Aresco hopeful that as they move out on July 1st, 2023, they will have the 6 new institutions come in from Conference USA, all as full-time members. So I want to thank Mike Aresco for being here with us today on the day that the decision has been made, and to give us a look into the annual meeting, what they're looking at going forward, as well as telling us, and to many of you for the first time, the expectation of when those 6 schools from Conference USA are to come into the American Athletic Conference. If all goes well, they'll also be coming in on July 1st of 2023. So with that being said, I thank you for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I cannot thank you enough for being a part of the show, and I want to once again remind you that we are live every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all / Wake Up Call DT. And of course, we're here with you also on Facebook.com / Live Now DT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage. And once we go live, the shows jump into our archive, including this special broadcast on Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, MixLR, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Amazon Music, Audible, and more. You can ask your Alexa device to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and you can do the same for your Google devices as well. So make sure you search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And a special thanks to all of our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond: Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Canine Campground, Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, Honda City of Liverpool, the Millhouse Market, and of course we are the exclusive, proud multimedia marketing partner of Lemoyne College, Marywood University, and Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call_DT. And for now, from the Cafe Kubal Studios, God bless, no stress, do your best. Thank you to